Here's what I see when it comes to ZBCN. Nothing I say is financial advice, and I am not telling anyone to do anything. However, ZBCN as of right now is currently back at a level in which I have not seen in over half a year, because the last time I saw this was back at around May of this year, which doesn't even seem like that long ago, but it's actually over half a year. And when I take a look at this space, sometimes it does feel like quite a while. However, here's the thing. The difference between ZBCN right now as opposed to back in May, even though it's pretty much at like the same level, right? Is that when I was holding back in May, in my entire time span at that point of me holding ZBCN, I never experienced like a pullback in which I've seen currently. Actually, when I was first talking about ZBCN, it was kind of like early, 2025. So if anything, like May at that point was not doing as bad as back in early 2025. It's actually, at least done something ever since I started talking about it. So I had never experienced at that point like this drastic pullback when it comes to ZBCN. But my point of view is that when I take a look at ZBCN, I sometimes like to remind myself that I actually did not mind before. So if it's at a level in which I didn't even complain about before, so I sometimes like to remind myself about that, even though I'm not telling anyone to do anything, which is one of the reasons why I haven't necessarily just given up when it comes to Zebec. When ZBCN had that pretty okay rally back in June, kind of my reaction was I kind of had wished that I could go back in time at that point or something like that to go where it was back in May to at least hypothetically maybe do something. But then the thing is, now it's actually back at that point. This is just my kind of reaction when it comes to this. Now, I'm not telling anyone to do anything, but this is just kind of my perspective right now when it comes to ZBCN. In a totally different example, if let's say for whatever reason, again, I'm not saying it's related to this. However, if let's say I walked inside a store and I saw this G-Shock, right? And for whatever reason, let's say it's like at a level 10. And then I was like, okay, it's at that level. And then suddenly, like the store said that it's going to have a discount or something like that, it becomes like at a level 6. But then suddenly it goes back to level 10. And I was like, oh, wow. It was at level 6 at one point. Why didn't I care about it then? So that's just kind of the mentality that I have sometimes. Now, again, this is not related to this, but then when I take a look at ZBCN, it is back to where it was in May. This is just my reaction when it comes to it. However, as of right now, I am staying patient when it comes to Zebec. This is not a requirement for me, though. I don't have to do this. However, when I take a look at ZBCN being approximately 40 times lower than 10 cents, it is what it is, but then it's just back to where it was back in May. This is just kind of my reaction. So I haven't given up, and we'll see what happens in 2026. However, I think if anything, actually, if I compare Zebec right now to where it was back in May, sure, it's pretty much at the same level, but fundamentally, has Zebec, to me at least, seemed like it has improved. I would arguably say yes when it comes to my perspective, because I've seen it sort of have the acquisitions that it had, right? I've now seen ISO 20022 compliance. And when I talk about acquisitions, I'm talking about, like, for instance, Science Card UK. And arguably through that, they're also focused on the aspect of education. And then also, I take a look at, like, the new partnerships that they had, right? I take a look at what they did with Algorand. I take a look at the improvements that they've made to just the project overall. The fundamentals, to me, even despite the current levels when it comes to Zebec, in terms of the charts, I'm just a bigger fan of the fundamentals right now when compared to before. But then it's actually like pretty much at the same level as before in terms of the charts when it comes to ZBCN. So when I take a look at something like that, I have personally not, given up. And I want to say thank you for watching. I hope you all have a very nice day. It's been Lee the Captain, and I hope you all have a very nice holiday. And I'll catch y'all on the next one, and I'll be making more updates when it comes to Zebec. if let's say they have a new partnership or something like that, or let's say just general updates overall. Hopefully, I'll be making more videos when it comes to that. However, again, I want to say thank you for watching. I greatly appreciate it.